for me personally was that for those of you that are old enough to remember, I was involved in shooting a TV pilot. They call it the movie now. They didn't call it the movie in those days. In 1996.
It's the New Year's special now.
Is that what it's called?
That's what I call it.
Okay. Well, we'll run with that name then for the time being. But when we shot it in 96, I think it was released at the end of 96 or 97 here. Of course, it was the first and only Doctor Who television for a few years. Doctor Who had been kicked into the long grass, I think is the expression, by the BBC in 1989. So there'd been nothing for 6 or 7 years. And then somebody had the idea, well, I know who it was Philip Segal, the producer Philip Segal, who managed to persuade Fox, Universal, and the BBC to make a TV pilot in the US. Convinced as he was, and he had to convince these people that there was a sufficient audience here in America to revive Doctor Who. Because it seems odd to think now that there was a time when Doctor Who was considered finished, even by the people that started it, the BBC. Anyway, that's what happened. And we shot a pilot. The pilot in the event never went to series, so it remains a single standalone thing that I was involved in back then. However, well, we like to think now that even though it was 95, you know, so years after that before the present series came back on the BBC, we somehow, that is the people involved in that single pilot, somehow kept the momentum going, contributed to, you know, to resuscitating the thing, keeping it going. Anyway, that's what we tell ourselves. We console ourselves with that. But after that was made, and of course failed, it failed in its chief function, it never went to series. A few years later, and Taylor, I'm sure you can tell me exactly when, Big Finish approached me to revive the Doctor, but on radio, on audio. Now, it's a little bit different in Britain, particularly in England. If you work as an actor in England, you tend to work on the radio anyway. You tend to do lots of theatre, lots of radio, lots of television. That's if you're a working actor. That's an ideal situation. But most of us are trained to do radio, audio things. And I only say that because I know that, I'm well aware that there was a great tradition here in the United States years ago of radio drama, which has kind of lapsed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is sad considering it was you guys that invented it.
It's a great medium.
It's one of the best media.
Yeah.
You know, so back in the, I suppose in the 40s and the 50s particularly, even into the 60s, there was still lots of radio drama here, and it would have been the staple of certain radio stations and acting companies. And this is the way it still is in England. You can make a career in England just doing audio.